He lies down voluntary. I don't do that. Actually, I should draw a line somewhere behind his ear. He is basically mobbed, the cute little donkey.
Das ist die Reise durchs Zentralmassiv. Immer viel zu hoch, immer viel zu tief.
Don't be scared.
Auf deiner
Wow.
Reise durchs Zentralmassiv.
Greetings to the girls. Hello to the boys. My adventure continues. Now it's time for another good morning coffee. It's already done. I just have to pour into my cup and add milk powder. Yes, yesterday evening I had a short visit, or rather longer visit, from the local farmer who lives behind those stone rocks and the green thing over there. And I explained to him with my hands and feet that I wasn't doing anything and just wanted to stay there for one more night. In the end, I gave the old farmer a row of cigarettes and the front row of a packet, and I gave one of the two lads a USB cable because they obviously don't have any electricity around there. I didn't notice how they actually do it. In any case, I also charged it to 10%, no 15, with the moped. And then we took photos with flash and all kind of attempts and fooled around. Although that's not so easy when you don't speak the language, but maybe that's an advantage too. Yeah, that's my first introduction to today. Let's see what else it brings. They don't know what to do with my tent on their path, something completely new. During the night, a horse was here, early in the morning, grazing around my campsite. I don't know if they know what to do, freak out, like Tyrolean cows are known to do, attacking tourists. I'll just keep packing. I'm not wearing anything red, and I'll move slowly. On the other hand, the sun is coming out strongly again. I'm packing again because I had to fetch my pannier as I have my USB cable in there, another one. Because I donated one, or rather bought my way into the campsite there. The nice man from yesterday is now showing me the way in the return. I'm charging his phone again. Can I get off somewhere? There, huh? Shukran. In return, I'm getting a good route. The meeting point is his van. I don't know why he can't charge his phone there, but it's not so bad. I'll wait there, he'll be there soon anyway, in the shade. Then he'll get his phone, and I hope I can finally leave this beautiful area. I'll say hello to Nina. Maybe she'll take a look at the channel and see this. Nina has two donkeys herself, that's why I mentioned it. Yes, at the moment it's quite pleasant riding on the dirt road. 2 lanes. Not right now, of course, but in principle, 40, sometimes even 50 is definitely possible. That means we can go a little further. Now we are above 1600 meters for the first time at 176 meters. It's not entirely fair to compare them, but despite everything, you can see that the Garmin, the ancient one, still gives a slightly better picture than the Samsung A30. Although I don't know how great the display of this cheap Samsung is. A phone for 250 euro is basically a piece of junk. It has to cost at least 1000 euro. I'm now heading to Msila, I think it's called. That was about 65 kilometers from where I set off. I'll have to see if I can get hold of some local currency again somewhere. Because I only have 100 dirhams left. That's about 70 or 80 cents, maybe a little more. The official exchange rate is 140 to 1. The nice thing is that it's September now. A great time to ride a moped. Not too warm, not too cold. At least in the morning. In the afternoons it gets quite warm again. So of course it's also a question of whether you are at 16 or 1700 meters or maybe only at 800-900 meters in the Atlas Mountains in Algeria. It gets quite steep up there, tough. Nothing to say at the moment. But the top grip of the motos makes it possible to get up there. Now I'm in first gear. We'll already gained a few meters in altitude. Ui. I'd love to look to the left for longer, but you should usually look where you're going. Otherwise, it could end in disaster. I want to avoid that. Look, there's another colleague, another adventure rider, maybe a local adventure rider. Let's take a look. Exactly. So when the locals, it's the same in Thailand. The lads there ride their mopeds up the worst path. Assalamu alaikum. A nice berm turn.
Oh,
Even with the front tire that's no longer in the best condition, steering is fun. Otherwise, you have to take it very comfortably, because there's not much braking power left in case of a case. Everything just rolls from one stone to the next. You try to slow down yourself, which is sad anyway. Reducing speed, not a good thing. Sometimes it just has to be done. Riding style, I sit quite a lot. When I see bumps I don't like, I stand up briefly on the footrests, but I don't stand up completely. I just let the moped work a little better under my bum. Standing all day would be too much for me. There's one now anyway. I'm standing slightly in the back so that the rear damper can move more easily. It's going down quite well again now. Damper means exhaust. I mounted the Sunday horn upside down anyway. As far as the silencer is concerned, if you can call it like that, I don't think the tire really touches it anymore. It only grazes the front of the manifold slightly, and that only when it compresses heavily. You can try to avoid that by supporting the chassis and standing slightly in the peg. Yeah. Rear shock absorber. As I already said, homemade from 2 to into 1. About 270mm of spring treble. I think it pays off quite a bit. The original is only 230. Sure, okay. The 270 is just a bit more. It takes a bit more of the overlooked holes and swallow them up nicely without fear that it will somehow shake you off the moped. I don't think the original 230 is that bad. If you look at what the current market offers, with 230 you are almost at the top, how should I describe it? In a league where the suspension travel can already be described as long. That's how I'd put it. I think the Tenere 700 has, I'm not sure, please correct below, 220mm regional. Now take the heavy 390 KTM with a curb weight of 165 kilo without fuel. That's all it has. It also wants to be called an adventure bike, where there's a bit of suspension travel, but it's really soft. That's the Honda Rally, the 300. I think it has something like 260 at the front and rear, but you can take it out and put in something sensible if you want to go faster. As a sedan chair, to get from A to B, it's certainly comfortable, but not really my thing. Otherwise, there's not much else that comes into play in terms of weight. That's just how it is these days, thanks perhaps to the fact that, of course, it's mainly Euro 5 plus, another part, another sensor, another something. And so we have made another kill because the legislators in Northern or Central Europe imagine we are saving the world by allowing us to build fewer and fewer great mopeds. So, over and done? Yeah. Well done. Anyway, that's enough about the chassis. It works pretty well. Yeah, that's what makes adventure riding so exciting. You never know what's coming next. Ooh, there's another flat tire. That means getting tools out and repairing it. Luckily, there's plenty of shade at the moment for me to stand somewhere. Yeah, it will be fun. Done. The tire is working again. And what I've learned from this is that the next time I got stuck in the Algerian, I'll say Pampa, I'll park the moped so that I can create a bit of shade for myself. I managed to do that back there, but luckily there's no wind. Otherwise it might be a bit cooler and a bit more bearable. I can ask my thermometer, my high precision one that I had sent over from Far East. Okay, of course it was in the black bag, but believe it or not, is it 45 degrees Celsius right now? I don't think so, because then I would already collapsed, but maybe it is 42 or 43. Yes, as I said, the tube is in, the air is in, everything back in storage. And then we continue. The city is not far away. There will be a break there, food, drink, and then I'll think about how to proceed. For the statistics, I actually thought that you'll keep a list not only for falls with the engine running and the handlebars touching the ground, but also for puncture statistics. I don't know yet. I don't necessarily want to call it that, but I'll do it anyway. I'll call it flat. And now we have had the second one. Yes, I hope it stays that way, and I hope at least that the blue part, the light blue part, doesn't get completely filled in. In any case, covered just 60 kilometers since 9 o'clock this morning. I think that's when I've started. That's a bit of a defeat. But yeah, changing a tire takes another hour with all the packing and unpacking, I guess. You'd almost have to time it or something. So we want to turn left now. Yeah, I know. There should be a petrol station on the right. I know where I am, according to all the beautiful routes I've mapped out. I'll just right there and stand in the shade. Then we will see. If it's true, I've seen it in various searches. There's supposed to be a campsite in the city. I'm going there now. It's only 1 o'clock, 17 minutes. This should be a larger town again. Sweaty, changing the tire. And now, in fact, the advantage of the wind from riding was that it was almost like air conditioning. It was almost cool with all that wet stuff. Gerald? Al-Rashid? Jabba? The two lads of my left have now set me up with a room across town for 3,900 dirhams. That's the Ansa Motel. You'll find it later on the map. And of course, they also helped me change money. More on that later. I'm supposed to film upstairs. We'll see that again. Toduir an-Nasser. And he himself probably drives an express taxi in a beautiful old Renault. You can see everything pretty well. And the lad now on the left in the picture, there we see it again. He speaks pretty good English and perfect French. Français. Welcome. They're all so friendly there. It's amazing. I was looking for the campsite and the lad at the back was the first one. I asked if there was a campsite there, but no. And then he opened the garage door where the campsite should be. I asked again and showed him on the map, looking for a hotel, and found a currency exchange on the street. Super, super, super. Really amazing. The people there are so helpful. Now I have to go in there, acclimatize, and take a shower. And then I'll continue. Then I'll have a look around here. I'll ask them. I wanted to invite them for a coffee anyway, but it doesn't seem right somehow. Then it would be nice, but it's not possible. Merci, merci, shukran. Now that I've had a shower, so to speak, in this nice hotel, I've decided to stay for the day, collect myself again, wash it all away, check my emails because there's no signal in the mountains as we might have at home. Found the room for 3,900 dirhams. Found it. Was offered to me by the two nice gentlemen. Perfect room, no problem with tire at the accommodation. They parked the moped in the garage so it didn't get taken away. Extremely friendly there. What else is there? They are very thorough at reception. They have to fill out two endless forms with passport number, visa number, and everything twice and 3 times. That's okay, we have that. It's not like anything being messed up or is illegal. But then it suddenly takes 6, 7, 8 minutes to check in. What does check in mean in German? Log in? No, never mind. In any case, I now have a kind of temporary accommodation where I have a bit of space, can recharge everything and gather myself again, so to speak. Lick my wounds, if you will. Now it's only about 500 meters above sea level. Accordingly, it's really, really hot out there now. Probably even more so in the afternoon. And well, maybe you can't see around the corner anymore. I don't know myself. Another gentleman who was also in the picture earlier immediately told the pizzeria around the corner that I was coming, by and there's a supermarket on the other corner. He went inside with me so that I could buy water or whatever. So extremely helpful. The older guy who was traveling with me, setting up the money and the accommodation, he doesn't have time. The second one, I begged him X times to let me invite him out for dinner in the evening. We exchange numbers and we'll see if anything comes out of it. I'll text him later in the evening or early in the evening, and I hope he'll pick up a restaurant somewhere, and I'd really like to return the favor. Yes, today it was set 50 or 60 or 70 kilometer into the city center and through the city. The campsite doesn't exist, but that's not so bad. It's great here anyway. I might also mention the exchange rate. Of course, that makes the whole thing incredibly cheaper than if you go the official route and withdraw money from the nearest cash machine, if there is one, or go to the bank itself. And now I'll just, yes, I have one more thing I'd like to show. Namely, there's also a bull in Algeria that comes from Austria, or even not. Well, it's called something a little different. Namely, Red Star. It's a dragon. Yes, so much for that. By the way, I didn't have to pay for that either. When I checked in and unloaded my moped and so on, I did ask if I could invite them for coffee. No. If I want one, yes, please. Then he comes along with a large bottle of water, a coffee for everyone, and the Algerian bull. Anyway, there's no way to pay with money. It's been really incredible so far. The day before yesterday, I think the SIM card, he won't let me pay. A guy comes by and gives me a bottle of water. I stopped somewhere and another guy comes by and wants to give me water. So far, it's been really positive approach to travel. I can only recommend it. The room may not be super interesting all the time, but I run back and forth like an elephant in suit that is tied up. Good. I'm going to drink the bull now, which isn't really my thing anyway, but of course the dragon, the Algerian one, to see if it gives me wings too.